Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. I'm Steve Farrell, a co-founder and executive director of Humanities Team. I'm coming to you live from our studio here in Boulder, Colorado, and I have just this magnificent special guest with me today, Jude Currivan. And Jude, where are you coming in live from today?
Thanks, Steve. Well, I'm joining our circle today from Portugal, from the south of Portugal, a place, the coast is called the Algarve, and we're in a small town called Tavira, which is quite near the Spanish border. And my husband and I have been here for a few weeks before going home in a week or so's time.
Okay, good. Back to the UK when you return. And welcome everybody too. We can see on the screen, here in the studio, there's a screen. We can see all of the folks that are coming in the green room from Stream Plus. So just shout out to you, wave to you. We can see you all on camera, those of you that are on camera. Thanks for being here. Also, we do post over to Jude Currivan's pages. So big shout out to all of you. Thank you, Whole World View, Jude Currivan, all of our friends all over the world. Thank you for being here. And then our Humanities Team friends, Changing Humanities Future friends, the Sign Network, John Raymer. Big shout out to all of you. Thank you all for joining us. We've got a really powerful hour in store. So this is a live program, which means that during the program, if you have a question or a comment that you want to bring to Jude during the hour, bring it to us, put it in the chat as soon as you can, and we try and get to those before the hour is over in the second half of the program. So invite you to do that. Don't be shy. And if you're here in the green room with us, you can even come on camera to talk to Jude if you like the idea. So let me give Jude a proper introduction here as we get going. Dr. Jude Currivan is a cosmologist, planetary healer, futurist, and author at the forefront of exploring humanity's extraordinary evolutionary potential. Jude integrates leading-edge science, consciousness research, and universal wisdom teachings to create a holistic worldview. Her work aims to enable transformational and emergent resolutions to our collective planetary issues, raising awareness and empowering fundamental change and sustainable solutions to global problems. Today, Jude is joining me to discuss humanity awakening and the monumental shifts we're seeing in our understanding of consciousness and our species' potential. So, again, great to have you with us, Jude. And wow, so many things that we want to just jump into. Let me start where we were in the green room, where we were just sharing a little bit. There's a lot of ground we're going to cover here, but one of the reasons that it's so really special to have Jude with us is this whole pivot that we're in the middle of, this shift into conscious living, and of course we're a good way into it now. It's a huge shift or pivot because the whole story of our evolution, going all the way back to what Jude likes to call the first breath, forward to today, that narrative, the science and the research that speak to what the unfolding of the universe actually was at all scales, is dramatically different than what almost all of us grew up with. And that's important because when we talk about this shift into conscious living, it's very hard to make that shift where we're just still kind of playing back the tapes, the unconscious tapes of the old story, that it was just this random thing and just some big violent bang. And then it just exploded. And then there was this dual universe then that started unfolding with all of this primitive stuff and so on. It just wasn't that, right? And Jude's work, she has 40 programs on our conscious streaming platform. It's called Humanities Stream Plus. There are two series that are on the platform. One is called Our Conscious Revolution, and that's her own 16-module masterclass. And then she has this new masterclass with Andrew Harvey. It's called The Sacred Journey of Conscious Evolution, also a 16-module masterclass. And this really gets into the history is kind of the context of how the whole universe truly started to unfold. And then this incredible invitation, this based on our true nature, based on our true potential. Jude, you were saying some beautiful things here when we were talking about this. I wish we were recording then. So you were sharing, yes, and the invitation. You want to just kind of share a little bit? It was wonderful here.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Well, this is both a new narrative, a new story that's emerging, but it's the ancient story. It's now showing us, the evidence is showing us that instead of a meaningless, random universe, that, our universe began 13.8 billion years ago to meaningfully exist and purposefully evolve. So its evolutionary arc over all those billions of years to now, its story is our story. Because, we go back to that very beginning. The hydrogen in our bodies is as old as the universe. And that beginning, that first moment of an ongoing big breath, means that because our universe exists meaningfully and purposefully evolves, that everything in it, including us, is part of that evolutionary journey, is part of that ongoing journey from simplicity to complexity and ever greater levels of individuated self-awareness and fundamental interconnectedness. So yes, we stand here together, what I call the bow wave of the future potential for our universe. And it seems to me that its evolutionary impulse is flowing through us and inviting us to literally consciously evolve with this new story, with this new understanding, this new ancient whole awareness, to stand and become, to participate as co-evolutionary partners. I mean, what an invitation. What an invitation to this incredible adventure of potential and possibility that we're invited to.
Yes, absolutely. And Conversations with God, of course, Neil Donald Walsch, an important co-founder of Humanities Team and his 9 series of books, it shares this very same narrative. Of course, you put different words to it, but this story that most of us grew up with, that we're coming into one life, that it was this violent, random past that old science was describing, where there was this manly figure in the sky, kind of wagging a finger, where it was a dual universe. There's there's this evil force out in the universe, and then there's this other positive force that it's not like that at all. And science, of course, is coming in. It's your own science, your own research. It's a universe in perfect harmony, right? It's a non-dual universe. Has huge implications for who we are and how we live, doesn't it?
It does, because it's showing us the evidence. I think this is really key, Steve. Is faith-based traditions, spirituality, experiences, indigenous teachings have told us this, that our universe and reality is essentially non-dual, the most foundational teachings. And yet, the science that we've had until now has told us a different story. And it's told us a story of apparent of separation and materialism and randomness. And now it's the evidence that I think is now the game changer, because the evidence at all scales and many different fields of research is turning that story on its head. And as our dear friend Irving Laszlo said, this is re-enchanting the universe. And this is an incredibly empowering new perspective, new understanding that, for me and for many of us, I feel offers us authentic hope, because it's grounding us in an existential reality of wholeness, of unity, and yet unity, not uniformity, but unity in diversity. And so it's showing us that consciousness is not just primary, because that's also been the perspective of many wisdom teachings, of course. It's showing us that mind and consciousness aren't what we have. They are literally what we and the whole world are. So there is no There is nothing that is separate from consciousness. And as Neil writes, there is nothing that is separate from God, because God is all pervasive. What we might refer to as God is the whole nature of reality, of which we are innately, intimately, meaningfully, purposefully microcosms of that wondrous abundance of our universe's story, our universe soul's story.
Yes, boy, I love that. And it's not what we have, it's what we are, which is a big distinction. Have is kind of holding. Are is just, this is our whole being. This is who we are, Yes. And so what comes to mind as you're talking here, Jude, is this term omnipresence, omniscience, and omnipotence. And now we really see the fullness of what this means. It's what we are, it's what we at a cellular level. Oh my goodness, this is this whole one, which goes by many names. We like to call it the divine and humanities team, but our scientist friends like cosmos and universe, fantastic, perfect. But it's what we are, and they're the one. The scientists are saying, no, this is at a cellular level. This is, it's what everything is down at a cellular level. I mean, omnipresence, omniscience, omnipotence has a whole new meaning here.
And even beneath the cellular level, we talk about the cellular, our cellular bodies, all 37 trillion cells of each of us is a community. But what we're talking about is life beyond the terminology of biological life. What we're talking about here is a living universe in its wholeness, a living, conscious, sentient, evolutionary universe of which every aspect, not even just down to the quantum scales, but down even smaller, much, much smaller than quantum scales, to the very pixels of reality, embody our innately mindful, innately conscious. So it's an amazingly beautiful and empowering new ancient story of who we are, and really invites us into relationship, right, beautiful, wholehearted, whole-souled relationship with the divine, with the cosmos, because there is no separation. We are inseparable from the entirety of this understanding now of unified reality, and yet we are radically diverse. Each of us is a unique expression of the divine.
Yes, we are. Yeah, and this is why when we get up in the morning, setting our intention and then our daily practice, whatever that might be, prayer or meditation or whatever, where we're creating that stillness and we're going within, because as you mentioned, it's right here, right now. It's who we are. But that often means quieting the world around us and not just going into our head and re-watching news on TV or something. And I know that this audience that's watching here, it's a conscious audience. Probably none of us do that. But setting that intention and then going into our daily practice just keeps us right there in that flow, that beautiful flow that you just articulated so wonderfully. Let me mention, too, you brought up Ervin Laszlo a moment ago. I'll just share something that we haven't shared before, because it's breaking news here right now in Humanities Team. Is Ervin Laszlo has been spending a lot of time creating a year-long program relating to this whole universe unfolding. And he was talking to public television about airing it, and he's now decided he's going to air it on Humanities Stream. So we're going to be soon launching that year-long program with Ervin Laszlo. And wow, are we excited about it, because he is a real leader in this whole shift into conscious living, a true leader. He was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize twice. He's a fantastic person. I know you work closely with him, Jude.
He's a dear friend, and yes, I mean, blessed Nervin. I mean, he's such an amazing pioneer, as you say. And what I love, one of the things I love most about Ervin is his curiosity. He is still, at the age of 90, curious. He's still, open-hearted and open-minded, and, is willing to continue to follow the evidence of this beautiful unfolding and exploration that we're all on together. So, to have Irvin as part of our humanities team family is just a beautiful, beautiful next step.
It's extraordinary, yes, and he operates up at the highest levels. He's, with back in the day, Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela and these other huge leaders even created a group with them, and yet he has shared these truths that we're discussing here, and this is what's been absent at these highest levels. The elite world, the truth of who we are and our evolution just isn't shared. But I'll tell you, he's been up there, Irvin Laszlo. He's been sharing these
absolutely,
in a very
and he
powerful
still
way.
is. Yeah, and he still is, Steve.
Is.
I mean, the point that you're making is so important because, like Irvin, I know we all feel this. Irvin's curiosity is not just to understand the nature of reality, which we're now appreciating is unified, but it's that what if, what then? So his focus, his passion is what does that mean for us in our everyday lives? And that is about conscious living, which is exactly what we're sharing and inviting in Humanities Team. Because if you understand the unified nature of reality and its meaningfulness and purposefulness in terms of its evolutionary arc and ongoing evolutionary impulse and our place in that and our invitation to be ever more participative co-evolutionary partners in that, what does that mean in the choices we make? As you were saying, what does it mean as to how we behave, not just personally, but how do we link up and lift up with each other? So, we've talked a little bit sometime before of how this is enabling a unitive narrative to underpin and frame transformational change. But, we can put unitive in front of every socio-economic transformational opportunity, unitive education, unitive justice, unitive economics, unitive leadership, whatever it may be. And this is where Irvin's curiosity and passion is still playing out, because that's what he wants to see. That's what he wants to support for the rest of his lifelong journey, is to support transformational change in the world from this awareness and from this unitive grounding that is so incredibly empowering.
Yeah, yes. Well, yes, and yes. So, yeah, I mean, as I kind of sit back and feel into all of it, just its history, its place now, its unfolding into the future, it's such a loving, narrative, really. This whole thing of, fight or flight and, violence, and we've got to push our way and crawl over and all these things. That's simply not ultimate reality. This ultimate reality that's emerging is one of pure love as its basis, pure love, and everlasting life and unlimited potential, and where we see that everything we do is an act of self-definition. Everything, where we. Yeah. And it's our choice. We're given free will. That's the beautiful thing about life. It's not this, you better, thou shalt. No. It actually, what we're learning is we're actually fully empowered in whatever decision we make. That's pure love, isn't it? Wow, isn't that neat? My will is your will, but it's flipped around, where the universe or the divine is saying, my will is your will, your individual will, right? And so now, we get to decide. And where we understand who we really are and our history, and wow, where we understand every act is an act of self-definition. This really is very inviting, isn't it? To do like the work that you're doing, where you left the business world and you said, I'm going to self-define this way. I'm going to help this emerge.
Exactly, and back at you, because that's exactly what you did, and to serve this. And I guess one of the conversations that I've been a conversation that has been coming up regularly with all of this understanding is, why is there so much conflict? Why is there so much competition? Why is there so much, injustice, inequality, all the rest of it in the world? And the way that I tend to answer that is that it's been part of the journey, not those behaviors, but the level of individuation that we've gone through over the last 2,500 years or so, from what's called the beginning of the so-called axial age, has been an age of individuation. And my sense, more and more from an evolutionary point of view, is that brought us into this sense of selfhood to actually journey and really explore what self is about. Who are we as individuated microcosms of our universe, of the cosmos, of the divine? And what that's done is, it's because the appearance of our universe seems to be separate. We've sort of brought, that journey has involved us perceiving ourselves as being separate. And that perception of separation has driven so many of the behaviors that have now become unsustainable. But equally, without that individuation, I'm not sure that we would be at this point where we're beginning to wake up to remember that we're inseparable, but doing so from that sense of personal responsibility, personal sense of agency, personal sense of self and free will, that then when we can wake up to the inseparability of the whole, we do so from an evolved sense of self that we can then expand our spirals of compassion, as Einstein referred to them, from the me to include the we and the all. But we wouldn't have been able to do that if we'd have been at the level of our journey as we would have been, say, 2,500 years ago. We've come all this time since, and all that exploration since, and all that's engendered since to this point. So it seems to me that part of our challenge and opportunities, Andrew Harvey and I speak to in the masterclass that we've done with Humanities Team, is how do we heal now? How do we heal the trauma that's gone alongside that perception of separation, knowing now that it was an illusion, not blaming it, not shaming it, but realizing we're at this point of incredible opportunity of conscious evolution. So healing the traumas of that journey are also part of our evolutionary progress as we move forward.
Yes, it is. And so this was the other. There are these two master classes that Jude has developed here on the Humanities Stream Plus platform. And of course, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. The first is her own. We're going to go to a clip in just a second. It's called Our Conscious Revolution. And then the second one is this one that it's actually, there's a whole cohort going through right now. It was just created. It's called The Sacred Journey of Conscious Evolution. That is just that brings in all of these multi-dimensions of this awakening and our past and our opportunity and shadow, and how we heal shadow and so many things more. Just really beautiful. So another way kind of I encapsulate this as I look at this ultimate reality we're waking up to is that it just seems like it was so fear-based before, more of a thou shalt and a dual universe and things, and we better, kind of watch out and so we better do this because of something that might happen. Whereas now it's this a love-based, it's like we don't need to be in fear. We don't need to be, so this term God-fearing, we don't need to be anything fearing, that we are so loved. We are a part of that one sacred divine presence, and boy, when we are in this love-based world, it's so much more inviting. We can live so much more in flow. This whole act of self-definition thing becomes fun and easy. I think I'll make these choices, that are really beautiful choices. So let's go take a look here. Now, this is our conscious revolution. This is Jude's own masterclass. Let's go take a look at a clip, and then Jude and I are going to come back and talk about it. Here we go.
So here we are, our conscious revolution, empowering our transformational journey to whole being and belonging. So let's start with the word our, because so much of the journey that we've been on have been, in terms of awakening, expanding our awareness, has often been on an individual and a personal basis. But we've now come to a collective moment of choice for our entire human species on this planet. What are we going to choose? Are we going to stay in the illusion of separation and fall into fear? Or are we going to come together and take a great leap, an evolutionary leap of love? And conscious, what we're aware of, we're aware of. What we're not aware of, we're not aware of. Our conscious minds process about 50 bits of information per second, whereas our subconscious mind and our autonomous nervous system processes millions of bits of information per second. So what we are aware of and what we choose to focus on really matters. As we go through this journey together, we'll see just how our thoughts, our words, our actions reverberate. We are vibrational beings. We don't have mind and consciousness. We are, and the whole world is mind and consciousness. So our consciousness, our awareness radiates in ways that often we're not aware of, or we're aware of, but we don't know how it's going to affect others. So more focus, more perception, more realization that how we think, what we say, as well as how we act really matters.
Okay, our conscious revolution, a 16-module masterclass just recently created by Jude Currivan. It's magnificent, and this point is profound. That there's all of this. There's the unconscious mind and conscious mind all going on at once, and the conscious mind is this little sliver compared to this huge unconscious mind, and therefore, especially now as we're waking up to all these truths and realities and new narratives about our history, new narratives about our possibility, it's why Humanities Team, why we do this program here right now, our Global Oneness Summit. We create these master classes with Jude. There's a lot that our conscious mind needs to kind of go and observe carefully, listen to, and decide if it wants to hear. If we want to adopt it as our truth, as our reality, as a whole new ultimate reality. It's so important because that subconscious mind, Bruce Lipton likes to talk quite a bit about this too in these first 11 years, where we just imprint to the unconscious mind and we go live this. It's like these old programs are playing and we just walk through life as a sleepwalker. And if we want to be awake and really tuned in to our true nature, there's some time we need to invest here and to really understand and embody these teachings, this new ultimate reality as it's emerging. Huh, Jude?
Absolutely. And one of the things, Steve, with that is we're not talking about information overload here. We're talking more about how can we attune and align with, universal divine reality that is loving, that is absolutely loving, so that we can feel that sense, experience that sense of love in our lives. What I write about in the Cosmic Hologram and the story of Gaia, the books that the classes are based on and all the rest of it, is that our universe is not just a living universe, it is a loving universe. Because everything is in relationship to everything else. And when we, as you say, come to our planetary home Gaia, also as a living, evolving planet within our universe, she's nurtured collaborative relationships for the last nearly 4.5 billion years. And those collaborative relationships, whenever they've moved into the next level of evolution, have involved cooperation. And cooperation is a loving behavior. And it recognizes, that right relationship that can help us, support us to link up and lift up and consciously evolve together. Because as the clip said, or the clip shared, I describe my course as our conscious and revolution, because it's not iterative. This is revolutionary. This isn't a little baby step. This is a big leap, but it's a leap that we are nurtured to take. It's an invitation, it seems to me, that our universe and Gaia is extending to us. And like a good parent, we'll never be invited into a leap that we cannot make. We're capable of this. We're able to do this. And we're being invited to do this.
Yes, we are. It's who we are. We're capable of doing it. We're being invited to do it. But again, it is so very different than than how most of us grew up in terms of, what was taught in school and the books that we read, narratives that we adopted as our own. So this is why, again, Humanities Team is this 501c3 nonprofit with all of our master classes, Global Oneness Summit, all our programs like this one. The Changing Humanities Future initiative, which is our huge initiative to make the whole world live consciously by 2040, because it's a smell the coffee moment. There are a lot of ways you could describe it. I'll throw that one out, in terms of, this is really so different. And there's such an opportunity here. And this can be so much fun, where it's a love-based narrative now. Jude, one of the questions that's come in from Doug is, do you agree there are two forces, the good and the bad? So I guess that I was actually talking about a non-dual universe, and I'm not sure if that was clear, but so there's a question of, are there two forces in the universe, a good and a bad, or how does this work?
Well, the ancient Tao speaks of the Ching, talks about in the beginning is the one, is the wholeness. But then the one differentiates itself. The one becomes two, the two become three, and from the three, 10,000 things are born. So we see that in the symbol, for example, for yin and yang. And yet within the symbol for yin and yang, the light and the dark, it's not judgmental. It's not a human judgment. It's a recognition that our universe, to experience and explore itself at ever greater levels of complexity, requires that sort of yin and yang, light and shade, just to differentiate itself from its wholeness. But also then the Tao talks about the one becomes two, the two becomes three. So there is a resolution of that. And from the three, 10,000 things are born. So it's not this sort of human good, bad. It's just, how do you differentiate wholeness so that it can experience and explore itself and evolve over this incredible, 13.8 billion year journey so far. It's when we perceive, instead of the wholeness, the appearance of separation, that as a human consciousness, we start to put names on it and judgments on it, rather than recognize that for the wholeness of reality to express itself, there needs to be differentiation. And yet, because of our journey and the sort of the nature of the choices we've made from that perception of separation, we've got the notions of good and bad. And for me, what we call bad is what does not serve or consciously serve within our own consciousness the wholeness, the divine that is the universe.
Yeah, so the way Conversations with God describes this is that there's this contextual field, which is Jude referencing. You can't be tall unless there's short. You can't be light unless there's dark. When we physicalize, this is the whole opportunity. But it's saying there's not up there some super forces that battle with each other in the universe where there is what has been referred to as a devil that's trying to deliberately tempt and call you off course and so on. That part is where we kind of got it wrong. That's not, the universe actually is in perfect harmony. Greg Braden would say,
Yes.
Nassim Haramein would say, the scientists, and even, Jude herself is a scientist and researcher. Yeah.
I am. I'm a cosmologist and quantum physicist, and certainly writing the story of Gaia over the last 25 years, an evolutionary biologist and a systems practitioner. So absolutely, and what we're sharing, what Greg and Bruce and Nassim and others, we're sharing the science of wholeness, the science of unity, ultimately the science of love,
Right.
of innate relationship between everything, where there is that differentiation, there is that balance, there is that need for, in order to experience, explore, and evolve.
Yeah, the contextual field is what Conversations with God calls it, this whole physicalized, because again, that's actually, as it explains it, in where we came from, the world of pure being, there is nothing but pure love. So that was part of why we wanted to physicalize. Let me go be that. I want to be that, and in relationship to that which is not. Which is that's what makes it exciting. We can choose it. We can decide it instead of we just are it, and there's no other choice. Which is kind of how it works, as we're told in the non-physical realm. So let me bring in Deborah. Brings in a question. And Deborah, I'm not familiar with Louis Savary or James Strick. I don't know if you are, Jude. And if not, Deborah, do you want to come on camera? Because she's asking us to address this from that perspective. I'm not familiar with that perspective, but if she wanted to come on screen here with us, she could come on and kind of talk about what that is, and then we could comment.
Right.
So we'll wait on that. But let's go to a second clip here. This is a beautiful clip from Jude here. Let's go, and it's this whole background of scientific discovery that's supporting our interdependence and unity. So let's go take a look at this clip now, and then Jude and I are going to come back and talk about it.
Leading edge scientific discoveries and breakthroughs are revealing evidence at all scales of existence, from the most minute to the mightiest scale of our entire universe, and across many different fields of research, not just of what we might refer to as the natural world, such as cosmology and planetary science, down to the smallest atomic scales and quantum scales, but also research into complex systems, including human collective behaviors, are turning the old paradigm of science, of a material universe, a universe of separation, on its head. The old paradigm is one that tells us that our universe began 13.8 billion years ago in the implied chaos of a Big Bang, that since then its evolutionary journey has continued almost randomly, accidentally, and with lack of meaning and no inherent purpose to its existence and evolution. And a worldview that also shares that consciousness is something that gradually and almost again accidentally arises when a certain level of complexity is reached, and with consciousness and mind arising from materiality. This is the worldview that we've been born into. This is the worldview that most, if not all of us, are taught at school. And this worldview is now being seen as being fundamentally flawed. And it's not to blame, it's not to go back and say we should have thought this or that should have happened. we've come a long way in our story as human beings, as a human species. And along that way, we've taken routes that have enabled us to see deeper and further out into the world progressively than before. And yet along the way, sometimes our deeper wisdom, an inherent wisdom that in our hearts has known that we're not separate, nonetheless has been peripheralized from that leading edge of science with all good intention to delve deeper into the nature of reality itself.
Okay, beautiful. And that's the Sacred Journey of Conscious Evolution from the first module there in Andrew and Jude's masterclass, which is phenomenal. Again, there's a cohort going through now with live mentoring and so on. So boy, check that out if you're already a stream member. And if not, go to Humanities Stream, or you can go to humanitiesstream.net to just go straight to the platform itself. It's a true streaming platform with hundreds of programs. There last year alone, we had 55 new programs. Then there are all of these live programs now. Neil does a program on Wednesday evenings. There's a Soul Circle program on Thursdays, another embodiment practice on Thursdays. I mentioned Urban Laszlo. We're going to start broadcasting his in a live program for a full year. So be sure on the Humanities Team website, check out at the top, it's got an events, just pull down event schedule and you can see all of what's coming. Actually, also this Friday at 12 noon Pacific, myself and Dee Meyer are going to do a conscious practice for the Ukraine, okay? And I'm calling it that and not just a peace thing for the Ukraine, because it's more than peace of let's just drop our arms. It's exactly what Jude is talking about here. This is going deeper. This isn't just the external world of let's just drop arms that are here. This is the going to the internal world of, my God, you know, there's divinity here in these Ukrainian people. Putin himself and these Russians and those providing munitions, these are people of divine nature. You know, so it's reaching deeper into this whole unfolding over there in the Ukraine of these people and really seeing and feeling their divinity, where you couldn't possibly be at war, you know, with these beautiful Ukrainian people. And we're calling in peace and security, protection, right? And we're calling in with the Russians, we're calling in awakening, understanding, clarity, true vision, true ultimate reality. So we're going much deeper than just a peace kind of prayer of would everybody just drop their arms. And this is really what Jude's work and Humanities Team's work is about. It's this deeper, fundamental understanding of who we really are and what our invitation really is in life. So a beautiful piece there, an important piece that was part of your brand new masterclass with Andrew Harvey that we just watched, huh, Jude?
Absolutely. Steve, what you just said about Ukraine really resonates powerfully, certainly with me. And I'm working on something called unitive justice, which when we come from this perspective of unity and diversity, there's a naturalness to justice. There's a naturalness. You know, I also talk about moving from being pieces. We've been in pieces to peace, because conflict is a natural behavior of a worldview of separation, I would suggest. Peace is a natural behavior of a worldview of unity and diversity. And that is really what we're sharing and inviting into. And I'd certainly say that there's also discernment here. This is a discernment of when behaviors do not serve and therefore responding in that way. And it feels and senses to me that what you're suggesting for this gathering really feels deeply and is in great service to what might be able to unfold and flow. Because, you know, Deborah put in the chat, God energy, light consciousness. What you're bringing is bringing God, bringing divinity, and bringing the energy of the intention and the coherence of that intention and that loving intention into that contextual field. So
yes,
that
yes.
feels wonderful.
Oh, and we are real excited about it. And with your Unit of Justice program, and I think you all might be doing something like that for the Global Oneness Summit. Kurt Johnson recently reached out about that, which is beautiful. Now we're extending that to the whole of the earth. And as you mentioned, you can put unitive right in front of anything: education, healthcare. We can just keep going, right? Because this is ultimate reality, where we break it down into its this whole new understanding of who we are and how we can operate, where we become really a loving service, and it's just what we naturally do.
Exactly.
And thank you, for the comment about the Friday program. This is when we and of course, and thank you for being part of Changing Humanity's Future. You can go to changinghumanitiesfuture.org to read about the initiative. Jude is a key leader in this initiative. We're doing a program on Wednesday, March 29th. It'll be at 9 a.m. Pacific, our standard time that we do these weekly programs. So invite you to join us. Greg Braden will be part of that program. Andrew Harvey will be part of that program. I think Jude might be, there's a week, then the next week we're doing another one an hour later on April 5th. I think Jude is part of that program, so be sure to tune in there, because we take these things that Jude and I are talking about right now, and we extend them out to the whole of, we're down at the scale of each of us individually, and then at the scale of all of us collectively, where we're really looking at the fullness of this whole unfolding into this, what Albert Einstein shared, where we end the optical delusion, this prison, as he called it, where we're just concerned about the affinity of the few, those closest to us, our family members, our closest friends, and that we break free of that prison, as he shares, by extending that affinity to the whole of humanity and mankind, and Jude would say the cosmos, all of, we're one with all of it, even beyond the earth herself. Us Gaians, as Jude likes to say, I love that, we're Gaians here, evolving into this whole new potential, huh, Jude?
Absolutely. I sometimes say, Steve, as you know, at Whole World View, we say act local, feel global, think cosmic.
Yeah.
That takes it the whole.
Right. Yes, it's beautiful. And you know what I love? Humanities team is 20 years old in June. And I must tell you, going back even 5 years, and certainly so for the 15 years before, so often a conversation like this could be written off to, it sounds rather heavenly, it's a bit nebulous, and I don't know how germane or important it is to my life today. Now in the last 5 years, as we're seeing climate change, and these weather patterns becoming more and more severe, things like the Ukraine, where people are concerned it could lead to a World War III, these things, there's increasing understanding that what we're talking about now, that this is ultimate reality, that this is really important. It needs to come to the forefront. This is not something, a convenient little thing that we're going to find 20 minutes for during our week. No, this is the whole future of ourselves, of our generation and future generations that we're talking about. That's how important it is, and we're well into this pivot. It's not like we got to get started. We're well into it. So, we just want to embrace it and stretch into it and come into the fullness of it. And that's why master classes like Jude's and Jude and Andrew's are so important. It's why our Stream Plus platform, we even have a 1-for-1 where we give it away to half of its members that can't afford it, and especially in other countries where even this economical price, the monthly is $40 and it's about $400, which is really economical for hundreds of programs a year. But in other, in certain other countries, there's no way they could afford that. So we have our 1-for-1 program for these conscious people that, if the whole world's going to be conscious 18 years from now, boy, we better address the whole world. The people living on $1 and $2 a day, and it's unfortunate there are a lot of them. So, and together we can and we are, Jude.
Wholeheartedly. And one of the things that I've loved, journeying so much, I've visited more than 80 countries. And I've had the great privilege of living with folks in those sort of communities. And often you will get a community television or a community laptop because of the situation. So you're not only seeing the programs and anything else we can offer as an individual, you're seeing them as a family, you're seeing them as a community. And I think one of the other things that you've encouraged folks to do is to do that wherever you are. So don't necessarily just watch these programs on your own. Invite friends, and family and anyone who's sort of wanting and curious and wanting to show up for this. So to share them, to share the experience of them, to share the curiosity about them, to share the sort of responses to them.
Yes, in fact, right now, as part of Humanity Stream Plus, again, there's so many things here, which I won't try and get into during the hour, but you go to humanitystream.net, you can read about the fullness of the program. But right now, we do these viewing parties. This is what Jude's talking about. We do them on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They begin at 9 a.m. Pacific, that's 12 noon Eastern. And what we're watching together in the viewing parties, and we'll have over 100 people come in and watch together, is this Sacred Journey of Conscious Evolution program of that's Jude and Andrew's. So, and it is so much, it's just a lot of fun where you're watching with others. You can feel kindred spirits, their comments, their questions. You throw in what's important to you, what you just, your aha moment there. It's a blast. And that's important today because there's still, consciousness is still, this whole ultimate reality we're talking about is still awakening. Many people feel like they're islands unto themselves, even their spouse, their kids maybe don't understand it well, and their friends, coworkers and things. So it's a blast. You're sitting there with 100+ people, and they all have a smile on their face, drawing different conclusions, asking different questions. It's really fun to be with kindred spirits like that. Let me bring in, so here's a statement from Carol. She says, I have read the story of Gaia. So this is this beautiful book. Also, we haven't talked about that, though that is actually in some of these materials and these classes that we're discussing. But she says, I've read the story of Gaia, and it's a wonderful read. I was nervous at first that I might not understand the science of it, but I found the book very accessible, and I highly recommend it. So that's from Carol. So thanks for sharing that, Carol.
Thank you, Farrell.
Yeah, it is. I've got it too. That's a real book. Just this whole description of our evolution, from 13.8 billion years ago to today, and who we are, where Jude's bringing in latest science, latest research, latest understandings, current invitations, and so much more. It's an incredible book. So let's see now. Sam says, Jude, can you share how you came up with the big breath as opposed to the Big Bang?
Sorry, who was that was asking, Steve?
That's from Sam. That was Sam.
Sam, thanks for that question. Well, first of all, as a cosmologist, I've researched the nature of reality and the story of our universe for many, many, many years. And I was taught in school, and still the teaching is that our universe began as a Big Bang, as you said, but it wasn't big. We know that. That's being facetious. It was minute. But the big issue for me was that it wasn't a bang, because when I use the word bang, I'm thinking about chaos, explosion, all of that sort of approach. And that really speaks to what Steve was saying earlier about this idea of a random, meaningless universe that began with essentially a meaningless, random, and in this case, chaotic start. We now know that our universe began in an incredibly fine-tuned and ordered state. And it's that enabled it to continue its journey. So as space has expanded and time has flowed ever since, that fine-tuned, ordered beginning enabled this evolutionary story of our entire universe to unfold and to flow. So when I started to really feel into this and really became more and more uncomfortable with this naming of that first moment, I realized that the ancient teaching, the ancient Indian teaching of the universe being the outbreath of Brahman gave a new wording. So instead of a Big Bang as a one-off event of chaos, the first moment of our universe was the first moment of an ongoing big breath. And of course, the other side of this is that in ancient Sanskrit, the language of this ancient Indian tradition, breath is prana, but it also means spirit. So there was this total, relationship of breath and spirit, of the divine unfolding. So that's how I came to the idea of the big breath. And Steve talks about aha moments. That was one of the biggest responses of aha moments that I've had, since I first came up with that idea. People get it. We get it within us that somehow the big breath of our universe is breathing through us. And we are microcosmic breaths of the big breath of this wonderful evolutionary story of our conscious, living, loving universe.
Yes, a big breath that is spirit. It's spirit breathing through us, because there's this omnipresence. We're inseparable from the omnipresence, from the one. Even I love now, for us spiritual ones have been walking around with the mystical teachings forever, and just with a smile and enjoying the breath and spirit and all of these things that we're talking about. But now, what's just a gas is the scientists are walking around. You should watch Nassim Haramein with his Resident Science Foundation. He's got this big smile on his face, and he's saying, now you can know you are inseparable from the universe.
Exactly.
Where you're sovereign to one body. This is who you are. Walk straight, walk with good posture. You are it. The universe couldn't be here without you. So the scientists have become evangelicals themselves with their science, of how this operates. They're saying exactly the same thing. So, and let me come back to the,
we are, absolutely.
Jude. Yeah, it's who we are. So, Changing Humanity's Future, if you haven't checked it out, go to changinghumanitiesfuture.org. Again, Jude, thank you for being a part of that, for being a part of our faculty that's created these two powerful new masterclasses coming into these programs where you share your science, your research, your invitation to living consciously. This is really our moment. We're well into this pivot, into conscious living. When we talk about making conscious living pervasive worldwide in 18 years, it is, we are pivoting into it now, and it's unbelievably important. This word we're hearing increasingly, even in mainstream press, existential crisis with extreme weather and wars that could become a World War III and things. It's time we end those things. Where we're stewards of the planet, there is no extreme weather like this. We just stewards. That's what, when you're a steward of the planet, you naturally, this is your nest. You don't foul your nest. Oh my goodness, just the opposite. You nurture it, you support it. We're all putting hands around it. All of the pieces and parts, including looking at things like carbon emissions, that where we don't go past this 1.5 Celsius, that is important. So just invite you to read Changing Humanity's Future. Join the initiative if you like. At the center of it is the Humanities Stream Plus platform. Education is always key to social change. So, because if we're going to go change our beliefs and change the whole way we live in life, we're going to look at that very carefully. We're talking about our whole life, which is precious. And we've got Jude and Andrew and Michael Beckwith and Neil Donald Walsh, Greg Braden, Nassim Haramein, Bruce Lipton. Again, there are hundreds of these programs on the platform. You can't miss, the invitation here in Conscious Living. It's so, just for ourselves, if you want to forget about the planet, it is such a, this is true prosperity. It's the way to live deliciously. So invite you to just join with us here. Let's stretch into the fullness of it. Jude, I want to thank you so much. Also want to thank my partners and colleagues. We can back up the camera here and you can see our studio. with Jim Gray. That's Jim over there, me on the couch. Jim, thank you for just having the courage to do a live broadcast. In today's day and age, when you're broadcasting the internet, not an easy thing. Also, Dee Meyer, Nanette Kennedy, Garth Catterall, all of my partners and colleagues. Sorry, that's my Portuguese water dog in the background. Must be a delivery person, the poor person trying to bring a package to the door or something. And last, definitely not least, all of you viewers, all of you in the studio here in the green room with us. So thank you for being with us. Big shout out to you all. And again, to all of Jude Currivan's friends, Humanities Team friends, Sign Network, John Raymer, thank you. So this Friday, 12 noon Pacific. So that's 3 p.m. Eastern. We're doing this conscious living program for the Ukraine. Join us. Dee Meyer and I will come on live here on Facebook, and we're going to do this live program. And boy, let's bring peace to the Ukraine. And we're going to bring peace through what Jude is discussing with me here now, through this whole conscious process where we understand the divine nature of humanity and indeed Gaia herself and all of life. Because we can't possibly, you cannot create war, I promise you, when we're conscious. We see the divinity in each other. We can't possibly pick up arms. So join us on Friday at noon Pacific. Okay, thank you everybody. Love and peace and blessings. Have a marvelous week. And Jude, we look forward to having you back here soon with us. Thank you for being here.
Bless you, Steve. Thank and bless you, everyone. Lots of love.
Okay, lots of love. Take care, everybody.